Why do the iPhone 11 cameras have to look in that bizarrely oriented way? It's one of the most common questions I've seen for the upcoming iPhones. Plus, with some leaks we got from Bloomberg this morning, I thought today's video would be a good chance to talk about why the cameras look the way they do and what you should expect from them this September. Let's begin. In case you haven't been following iPhone 11 leaks very much, it's safe to assume that the camera is likely going to be the biggest change we see year over year. In regards to the front of the phone's design, not much is changing. The notch looks the same, the displays are the same sizes as they were, and this is definitely going to feel like another one of those S years, where it's mostly about speed and battery improvements. Lots of improvement across the board, but not a whole lot of new. But the most drastic, the most noticeable improvement you'll be seeing are definitely those cameras on the back, which on leaks and several other analysts have detailed how the triple camera setup is going to be handled by Apple, which is safe to say it's at best unique. Not a lot of other smartphone manufacturers have decided to go with this interesting design choice for the next iPhone, but as confusing as it may be, I am doing my best to kind of theorize the advantages. Why would Apple choose this bizarre layout of cameras? What are the benefits of it? Is it just them being lazy, or are there actually some reasons to back this up? Particularly with the recent leaks we got of the iPhone 11R, or as some people are calling it, the iPhone XR 2019 edition, which, oh my god, his naming just gets worse every year. Why does the 11R, if it's going to have just two cameras, not three, need to have the same size camera module or the same size camera bump as the triple camera iPhone 11s? I have a couple of theories about that. Some are a bit more believable than others, but one of the more outlandish ones out there is simply that Apple wants to keep the lineup looking a bit more unified. It would look a little bit bizarre if they kept around the traditional iPhone X camera bump alongside the new trio camera setup on the iPhone 11 and 11 Max. It would maybe confuse people into thinking this one is the older one, this one is the newer one, whereas Apple wants to avoid that, so they want the lineup to look very, very similar, and that's why they're consistently picking this design trend. But I agree, that's definitely a little bit out there, and it's not likely why they did it. I think what's more likely is this saves on manufacturing parts, because in these iPhone factories where they're assembling iPhone XRs and XS Maxes, and as we speak, A13 chips are entering production so that they can produce the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Max with the iPhone 11R. Being able to build those camera modules from the same cutout every single time perhaps can save on time, maybe makes manufacturing a lot easier, plus Apple's trying to move away from the very, very sharp, prominent camera module that pops out of our iPhone Xs and XSs right now, and they're moving into more of a gradual blend, a more thin camera bump, so that hopefully this phone doesn't wobble so much on a table and it just looks a little bit more seamless. It's not completely flat. That would be ideal. Maybe that's just not possible yet, but Apple wants to have all three iPhones this year have that very gradual glass camera bump that looks much more smooth, as well as fitting in with the rest of the lineup. Now, the good news is that Gurman has detailed some of the features we should expect on next year's iPhones. They're probably not enough to talk about for a whole video, but I thought I would detail them during this one. For one, he says we should be expecting an improved telephoto lens with more zoom. That means right now in all of our dual camera iPhones, we have regular lenses and then we have telephoto lenses that usually zoom in about twice as much. Given the ultra-wide lens being adopted to this new design for the iPhone 11, which by the way, Gurman confirms, he says that third lens is used for ultra-wide purposes, the telephoto will be zooming in even further than before. He doesn't have an exact number, but I'm personally excited about this because I've seen a lot of other Android phones in the market right now investing into making deeper telephoto lenses so that they can zoom in 3, 4, 5 times to get really close in on the action, even if your smartphone and you are very far away. I think updating the telephoto to make it zoom in even further is a really great choice. What I don't think is a great choice, however, is Gurman saying that the next generation iPhone 11R, while it is getting a dual camera, it's not gaining the ultra-wide. It's gonna stick with the improved telephoto lens as well as the standard lens, which I think is a little bit bizarre because if people buying the iPhone XR cared about a telephoto lens, why wouldn't they just buy an iPhone 8 Plus, or why wouldn't they just opt for the iPhone X? I feel like if you care about telephoto lenses, you probably didn't buy the iPhone XR. If anything, if you're purchasing an iPhone XR, that's evident that you don't care that much about having a dual camera and being able to zoom in. So now that they're catering to that market still with the iPhone 11R and suggesting, and now you have a telephoto lens, I don't think that many people are gonna feel inclined to upgrade. But all of us have very different desires, very different features we'd like, so I'm sure there's some people out there that love their XR but would have loved to have a telephoto lens, and now they're gonna have that option later this year. He also said something we've heard a million times now: the iPhones are going to ship with reverse wireless charging, meaning you of course will be able to charge up your latest generation AirPods, the wireless charging version, by simply placing them on the back of your iPhone. If you needed to charge them in a bunch and you didn't have a wireless charger with you that you could drop your AirPods on, your iPhone will double as that. No one has said it will support the Apple Watch, and I think that's because the Apple Watch has kind of a more proprietary charging method. It doesn't support Qi, and that's likely how the iPhone's technology is going to work. They're just going to have a reverse Qi coil on the back, which means theoretically, yes, you could drop another iPhone on the back of the iPhone to charge it, just like you could on a Galaxy S10, but likely very similar to the Galaxy S10, it's not worth it because the wireless charging speed is incredibly slow, slower than 5 watts, which means for something like AirPods, maybe that could be kind of helpful, but for something like a full-size phone, don't even bother. It's not even worth trying. Anyway, moving on to the Pro models, the iPhone 11 and 11 Max. Why did they go with this configuration? I'm sure you guys have seen all the concepts I've seen. Every conceptor out there has come up with their own idea of how they could redesign the triple camera setup to look more clean or make it look more similar to the iPhone cameras in the past. Some good, some very good, some very weird. But overall, we have to keep asking ourselves, why did they go with this particular configuration? I have a theory of my own that the only benefit I see to this triple camera setup is the fact that every single lens is equal distance of each other. And given we know kind of how Apple utilizes multiple lenses simultaneously, like being able to utilize the telephoto lens for taking the picture when doing portrait mode, even way back with the iPhone 7 Plus, they're able to collect data from the main lens so that they can help produce a 3D map with that telephoto lens. I think Apple's likely gonna do some type of optimizing there on the iPhone 11 and 11 Max, as in they're gonna utilize that ultra-wide lens so that they can do some 3D mapping and maybe get really good at analyzing portrait mode shots better and having a good amount of bokeh that's really, really smart, and it's gonna be collecting all kinds of data from all those lenses and making sure that each of those lenses is equal distance from each other is probably important to making sure the software works efficiently. There was one report that claims this year Apple's going to be working on portrait mode for video, which has been done before. It's possible on things like the Galaxy S10 5G thanks to its time of flight sensor. It's also just possible if you go into the Instagram app and use focus mode. Using portrait mode in the form of a video has been done, but I feel like Apple probably has the technology to perfect it, given Apple's very much kind of the king of video. So what it would result in is very professional, very high quality looking video because it would imitate kind of how a DSLR looks, but my guess is they're gonna do it unlike anyone else has done it before, probably with very high resolution and perhaps even high frame rate support so that a lot of people can easily utilize this feature and be able to take videos on their iPhone that look over the top professional, way overkill. And if you think about the science that has to happen, you know, currently it's already somewhat possible because when you activate portrait mode on your iPhone 10, you can see that it's running in real time. It's rendering the portrait mode in real time. Though when you take the picture, it takes a second to analyze that data so that when you go back and view that photo, it's much more high quality than just the preview was in the camera app, which means that once you're recording a video, it's not as simple as just rendering it in real time. It has to capture all of that data, process it, and make sure the bokeh is somewhat consistent. Maybe this will be very much more possible thanks to the A13 chip, which I'm sure is going to be insanely fast. Some will say it's probably even so fast it's unnecessary, like who even needs that much speed if the A13 chip ends up being anywhere near what the A12X chip was in the iPad Pro, which I think it will. Maybe it'll be possible for the iPhone 11 to essentially take a portrait mode picture many times every single second, and then using Apple's built-in software, they're going to be able to blend these frames together so that portrait mode video will somehow be possible. But that, of course, is very theoretical. A lot of this video is. I feel like you may have some more information now that hopefully at least when you see that iPhone 11 and you're thinking, why would they go with that camera design? It looks so weird. Maybe I just planted a couple seeds in your brain. I'm not trying to convince you that it looks good. I'm not trying to say that, no, you should all love the iPhone 11 camera design. I'm just trying to provide maybe some explanation as to why they did that. You're, of course, welcome to throw all of it out and just say, no, Apple sucks now, there's no innovation, and I hate it. I'm totally switching to Android now because the Pixel 3a is better in every conceivable way, and anyone who buys an iPhone is simply just brainwashed. Okay, good for you. Believe that. Enjoy your Pixel, but I'm certainly going to be upgrading even if I'm not that excited for it. I'm excited for a thinner camera bump. I'm excited for ultra-wide because I really enjoyed it on the S10. Reverse wireless charging sounds neat as well, and portrait mode video would be epic because on my vlogging channel, I record with my iPhone a lot, so I would take full advantage of that. Anyways, what are your guys' theories for the camera design of the iPhone 11. Why do you think they did it that way? Does it justify the features we could get out of it, or do you think this is completely inexcusable? Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.